Well, we are back with Brandon Sanderson talking about why you should play Elden Ring. If you have not heard, I am an epic fantasy novelist, best known for things like The Wheel of Time and the Stormlight Archive. And I also happen to be an enormous fanboy of From Software's video game series that began with Demon's Souls. And the latest incarnation of this is the game Elden Ring. Sorry for the gruesome imagery right here. They can be a little gruesome at times. I am going to be talking about fighting this cool boss right here. This is Mohg, Lord of Blood. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but we will see. I'm sure people will tell me in the comments how I'm to say it. And this series is me just kind of talking about why I love this series and why you should play Elden Ring. I will also mention why you should not play Elden Ring, meaning I'll try to tell you things about why these games are great for people who love them and why maybe they aren't always as great for everyone else. I will also talk about what I think of specific enemy designs, and in this case, this boss right here, which I thought was a fantastic boss. Really enjoyed this boss fight. Now, a few little explanations for those who know the games. Just kind of explain what I'm going to be doing. That this may not make sense if you're new to the games and haven't played them, but it'll be short. Basically, what I like to do is do some early runs at every boss, where I am just basically learning their moves. I'm not even really trying to beat them. I'm just figuring out how they play. I often do this without a spirit summon, because for me, defeating a boss is partially about learning their moveset, and learning when to time my dodges or blocks or things like that. I'm mostly dodging in this run because I want to hit things with two giant swords and have a glass cannon build where if I take even the slight amount of damage, I'm in trouble because that takes off some of my protections. So you're going to see me die a lot starting out here. Actually, you're going to see me die a lot near the end as well. That's just what happens. But I'm also just kind of getting into the rhythm, figuring out how to dodge things. Once I can reliably get a boss to its second stage, that's when I will often start using a spirit summons to get past that first part more easily, and to get experience with the second part. That was a fast one, wasn't it? I just got hit and then bonked. This boss is difficult for me because, as I've said, my build relies on me being at full health. When I'm at full health, I have this damage shield on. If I take a little bit of damage, my damage shield goes away, and the next hit will almost assuredly kill me. This boss does a lot of little damaging attacks in wide areas, which leaves my shield going down very easily. I'm noticing, though, that I can hit in underneath that first attack of his. And so this is probably a boss I learned pretty early on that I need to be aggressive about and going in and attacking and not trying to necessarily be as time efficient. Time efficient is the wrong term. As cautious as sometimes you are with bosses. I'm doing a little better this time because I'm just going in and being the aggressor and hitting him while he's doing these things and letting him get stunned and things like that. So once I get him reliably past the first phase, which doesn't take me that long, what you're going to see me doing is I'll use some of the built-in tricks and things that they have to make it easier, because it's really the second phase that I really am interested in, and this cool thing in the middle that he has going on. All right, so why should you play Elden Ring? What are we going to be talking about this time? Well, the first time I talked about this. You maybe want to go watch that video, but you don't have to. These are not meant to have to be watched in any specific order. I talked about kind of the sense of victory and thrill you get in these games because of their difficulty. I spoke specifically about difficulty. The second, I talked about their level designs. Well, this time, I think I'm going to talk part about the idea of the boss fights in these games. And I'm also going to talk about the many tools that you're given in these games and why I like the games for that reason. So let's start with the tools. Everyone knows who is adjacent to these games that these games are hard. When I played the very first of these games back in the PS2 era, that's what I knew, was that, oh yeah, these games are hard. And it almost was, I got the game and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to like this because all I've heard is these games are hard. You can see I've gotten past the first phase on him now. I'm going to start trying out a few spirit summonings and see which ones are fun on this boss fight. I ended up beating him a little faster. It took me about a half hour, which may not seem after my immediate death there. I beat him a little faster than I usually think is good with a boss like this, just because I did beat him when I felt like I didn't need to learn his moveset entirely. So you'll watch. When I go to the next boss I'm going to fight after the next couple, I might not even use spirit summons. But here I've grabbed Dorn, my trusty ancestral follower, and I'm going to let him distract Mohg a little bit from me as I practice getting to the second phase. So I had heard that they're really difficult. You're probably tired of me hearing that or saying that. Bam, that thing just nails me because I lose a little bit of life and my shield is gone. And so, yes, they are. But the real fun of these games, and I am not the first to point these out, is that difficulty is mitigated 1,000 different ways by the game giving you a whole ton of tools for you to learn and practice with and decide which ones take the edge of that difficulty off for you in the way you want it to. I've talked about my friends who don't really enjoy difficult games really enjoying this one. Why? Because you can really choose your own difficulty. And I talked a lot about that in my first video. I won't go into it here, but let's talk about really how and why you do that. Well, you get to decide what kind of game you're playing in a lot of ways in these games. What do I mean by that? Well, I have never played a series of games with as many different weapon combinations, spell types, and tool types. Just never. Now, granted, you might play some RPGs where they have 1,000 different weapons, but they all play basically the same, right? Yes, there are 80 different swords you can get, but all of those 80 different swords are just equate to it does this much damage and it auto hits, you click attack and then your guy goes and attacks and does, slightly different damage with a slightly different status effect. Yes, those games do have some distinction in the status effects and things like that, but what you have in the Dark Souls series, and in Elden Ring in particular, is you have dozens of weapons that all play differently. And this was what I found and loved. Like when I played the very first one, I ended up with just a little one-handed sword. I think it was a falchion or something like that maybe it was a scimitar that I really, really kind of liked the moveset on. And it had a unique move that no other weapon in the game had. That was this little dance backward move if you hit this thing. And I just fell in love with this move. I assumed that every weapon had it, and I'd try others, and they didn't. But they each had their own little quirks and things. And I started to realize even two giant greatswords will often have a different moveset because you have all these different kinds of moves. And The giant greatswords play very differently if you arm your character with a pair of daggers. And the daggers are fast and quick and close range. And you have to have a completely different play style than if you have the giant swords. You will have a different play style if you put a wand in one hand to cast spells and a sword in the other hand. You'll have a very different play style if you have a shield in one hand, or if you decide to two-hand your sword and use it to block. There are so many combinations of how the weapons hit that it gives so much nuance to the games. As an example, you'll see me jump attacking a lot. Jump attacks in this style are new to this game, and so I built a build around it because I had never really had a good jump attack character before. And so you're going to see a lot of that style and that build. I'm wearing a cloak that enhances that, and a separate ring. They call them, what do they call them? I can't even remember what they're called right now. Why can't I remember what the rings are called in this game? Talismans. A separate talisman that also boosts my jump attacks. So I've been able to focus my build around that. And I like the idea of, you know what, Brandon? You got to learn to dodge. You really have. I don't want you to beat bosses unless you're dodging their attacks. So I'm going to give myself one freebie. If they hit me once, okay, I can go back and heal. If I don't do that, then the potions that I'm healing with are basically meaningless, which removes a big part of the game, and it's a little too punishing for me as a non-professional gamer. I'm also said I'm not going to use Spirit Ashes, which are these summons, that glowing version of myself, until I can consistently, or at least I know I can get the boss past its first phase. This boss, I kind of went on to it a little faster because I have fought a boss like this before where I knew its first stage pretty well already. But I'm going to build this glass cannon build where there are talismans that let me, if I take damage, the first hit I get is incredibly mitigated. It goes down only a tiny bit. I get a 30% reduction. I guess tiny bit's the wrong term. But it's enough that I can survive. Basically, so far in the game, I've been able to survive one hit from almost everything. Some things have a instant kill sort of attack that is generally well telegraphed for me to dodge. I can tank almost anything else. But then the second time, I die. That's pretty fun. That's pretty cool to me. I wanted to try that build. It's a weird build to do. Double great swords, glass cannon sort of thing. You don't have to build that way. You may want to. In fact, in most Souls games, there are weapons that you can strike with your shield up. There are these things that you can hold up your shield, and then you've got a spear, and you play as this very tanky spear person who has a shield and walks up and holds up the shield and goes stab, 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 and never lets their defenses down. Those don't do a ton of damage, and they have this danger that you can run out of stamina, so your shield power goes down. But also, it's a really cool way to play the game. Very different from what I'm doing here. With those, your play style is incredibly different. I've tried out some of the whips in this game, which are just bizarre and bonkers. It's really even hard to see where you're aiming them, but they look really cool. You can have two whips. The weapon variety in these games is incredible. There is one weapon that is a giant finger, just a giant's finger that has a ring on it even that you just bonk people with. There are other weapons that you may have seen me, if you watch from my earlier videos get. There's like a candelabra or a brazier that holds a person's skull in it that's on fire that you attack with. There is a sword made out of a whole bunch of other swords as an homage to George Martin, who worked on this game, like the Iron Throne. There are bizarre, weird, interesting weapons. And the thing is, each of these weapons have a special power that is either they are a weapon that can... There's two categories. There's special weapons that each have their own unique power that are just different and cool and do weird things, and they use your magic points instead. So even if you're a melee user, you can have something cool on your weapon. And then there's a whole bunch of generic weapons that you can put one of some 30 or 40 powers on to further customize. This one, you can see I'm trying out this one that gives me a little holy weapon buff. Probably not the best one for this fight. In fact, I'm going to probably take it off here pretty soon. I liked it because it's something I can buff my character with before I go in the boss arena and just give myself a little extra edge without actually taking any distraction from me. Because if I'm not going to be using spirit summonings for part of these, which you'll notice I stopped using it because I'm like, I don't know if I know this guy's movesets as well as I thought I did. So I am going to stop doing that. You can see that it's a way to use my magic points. They are so clever in the way they design these games to allow you all of these tools. If you want to be a doofus like me and run in and die in 2 hits, well, you know what? The bosses are all beatable that way. In a normal RPG, the boss would have so much life that if you weren't the appropriate level to go fight that boss, it just would be tedium to try to fight it. In this, every boss is squishy enough that even a low-level character with the right weapons can do enough damage that it's pretty conceivable you can beat them. I'm about at half the level I should be for fighting this guy. That's how I've played the game so far, is about half the recommended level for fighting each of the bosses, which is part of why I'm dying so much. I actually find this fun. I am a weirdo who, as I said, I only want to beat the boss if I legitimately feel like I know its moveset and understand what I'm doing. And I'm kind of learning that I'm being a little too aggressive here. I'm just going in and dying, smashing my face into the boss. This does happen to me a lot where I'm like, I figure like, I know what I'm doing. No, I don't. And so I don't want to be able to accidentally beat a boss by just being like, I know what I'm doing, run in, smash, smash, smash. I want to enjoy the design of the bosses. So we're going to next talk about the design of the bosses. Can I also talk about how epic this music is? I love the boss music in Souls games. And this one in particular, they just really knocked it out of the park. You feel epic and awesome fighting these battles because the music makes it sound like you are in a really epic fantasy battle. I mean, yeah, I love it. So I'm going to leave off there kind of talking in general about the idea of tools and weapon sets and things. I'm sorry I don't have footage of all the different weapon sets and whatnot. Maybe sometime I'll try to find some footage to show that off for you. I'm kind of doing this series of Why You Should Play Dark Souls kind of a little bit spur of the moment as I fight these bosses. This is actually me going through my first run in the game, unlike a lot of YouTubers who probably are professionals at this and are, talking about the game. What they are doing is they will beat the game several times and find the exact footage they want, whereas I'm just going through it for the first time. As a professional novelist, I think I have an interesting insight to these sorts of things. I think I can offer a different perspective, but I also don't have the time to play the game 300 times and get you the exact footage, so I apologize for that. But let's talk about why I like this boss in particular. We've got about 10 minutes left before I beat him. If you watched my last video, I fought one of the fast, super punishing, always chases you around the arena bosses. This boss, Mohg, is different. Mohg is all about area of effect, or AoE, large swings and explosions that cover a large area, and then a really heavy-hitting single weapon. He doesn't chase you. He's slow, however, has a lot more hit points, a lot more health than the previous boss I fought, and plays really differently because of that. He also has a unique puzzle. You saw that I died just a minute ago to something that happens in the middle of his boss fight. He does this thing where you get attacked no matter where you are, by by 3 just pings that'll take off a huge chunk of your health. Once he gets to 50%, he casts this spell that does that. Otherwise, he's doing these weird things where he is swinging burning blood around himself for you to walk in. And I'm starting to learn how to dodge all of this stuff, how to stay in close, but then dodge back when he does his blood attacks, how to dodge his swings of his giant fork here. And what I've started to do is I will get in close to halfway, and then I'm summoning my Mimic. This is a copy of myself. The most powerful of the spirit summons that you can do. Not as powerful for me as it is for a lot of other players, because I am so low level and have built this glass cannon build that my Mimic tier dies a lot faster than a lot. But here he's doing his spell. So once again, every Dark Souls boss, every Elden Ring boss is part puzzle. They have some sort of aspect to them that you have to just learn how to defeat. And this one, it's quite obvious. He has this thing in the middle. After beating him, I went and read up on him. And as is traditional in Souls games, and why I decided to talk about weapons and tools when fighting this guy in particular, is there is a specific talisman that you can equip, which will let you completely avoid that spell in the middle. FromSoft just loves to give you tools. Now, most bosses, it's not so overt as that. Most bosses, they just have certain weaknesses that if you test them out, or if you're having a really hard time, just go look it up. You can figure it out, or people will figure it out and give it to you. It's actually very hard to figure out on your own what a boss is weak to. You have to try a bunch of different status effects, but each boss will have some weaknesses, and you can exploit those. Some cases, they'll just be specific items that you can equip that will be extra useful against the boss. I am going to show one of those off here, which is an item, a separate item. There's 2 for this boss that will lock him to the ground for a minute to let you get in a few extra hits. They do this just because they know that some of the bosses are extra difficult. But beyond that, it rewards gameplay. If you explore, you will find these extra tools. I found one of them, not the other one. And I knew about the one that I'd found because you can use it. There's 2 of these for 2 different bosses in this game. Sometime I'll talk about the lore. This is the lore of these games is incredible. But I'm a fanboy, so perhaps I am not the best one to talk to about that. So along these aspects, why would you not play Elden Ring? Well, it is a little overwhelming. When I first got into the games, I didn't realize that any weapon was viable. I'm used to other fantasy games where you find a bad weapon, and then you upgrade to a better weapon, you throw away the one you had before, and then you upgrade to a better version of the same weapon, and you throw away what you had before. Here, I'm going to grab this item. Sorry, I had to go do something for a minute there, but we grabbed the shackle. And I'm going to equip it over here instead of my handy crab meat that I haven't been using very much in this battle. Anyway, there's just so many different weapons, and figuring out how they all work, how you level the given weapon you have. Oh, I didn't put it there. I put it instead of the horse. That's right. And how you can just use any weapon in the game, and they're all viable. Some are a little stronger than others, but everything's viable. That's overwhelming. And they don't do a good job of explaining to you how to make your weapon so that it matches your build. You can take most of the generic weapons and you can tweak them so they work specifically with the build that you're doing in specific and cool ways. But man, it is a lot to learn. That might be something that's a little intimidating to you. Though, if you know every weapon is viable and you level up your weapon rather than throwing it away and finding a better version of itself, then you can take the starter weapons, and if you just really like them, you can beat the game with them. That's cool. It's also, here I'm using that cool thing. It's like, here it's what it looks like. You just get a free hit. I think you can use it twice per battle. And so I'm just going to use it to get past his first phase because I'm pretty good at that first phase now. I don't take a lot of hits. Sometimes I die because I'm a glass cannon, but that's usually just because I'm being so eager. And I'm going to focus on... Oh, it doesn't work when he's on his second phase, I guess, or if he's in the middle of an animation. Maybe it only works once per battle. Sometimes they only work once per battle. And so... Ooh, he just punished me, got me down a little bit of my health, and then smashed me in the head. I think this is probably the run where I beat him, this next one. This boss in particular, I just thought was a cool design. I think having the puzzle in the middle of it, having it be a slow boss with these sweeping sprays that you have to dodge around, it punishes my specific build in interesting ways. So I had to learn how to dodge out of those things, to always make sure I'm not going down just a fraction of life. I think it was fun that he rewards getting in close when, you know, your natural instinct oftentimes in these games is stay far away. Yeah, it's when he's doing one of those things that you can do it twice, but you got to be careful not to do it when he's in the middle of a spell, otherwise it won't work on him. So, and I think, of course, his visual design is cool, but just throwing that fire. I guess it works twice if the first one doesn't work. That's right. Even the first one doesn't work, you can get him. And I'm going to summon my Mimic Tier here in a second, right when he's right before halfway, so that I can just go for the second phase, which, as I said before, I think I maybe beat him just a little too easily. I was goofing around for some of it and being a little too aggressive, though I'm very good at this first half of his fight right now, and so I feel pretty good about that. Decided to heal even though I knew I was going to get hit because of it, because I needed to wait till he got distracted by my Mimic Tier, go up to full, and then start smashing him. I just kind of heal through his spell that's really tough in the middle when he does this thing. That's coming up. I just instead of using the tool, I just heal a bunch and get through it. So here he's got me surrounded. Now he's going to do it, and instead I'm just going to heal. It takes off half my life about with each hit, but 2 heals, and I go through it, and he gets his life back, and now second phase. But he is distracted by the handy Mimic Tier. I enjoy these heavy-hitting bosses because they really reward learning to dodge. It's the fast, punishing ones that are more difficult for me. If you hit hard, but I can easily or more easily dodge your attacks, I am going to beat you fairly quickly in this game, particularly because I do so much damage that trading I dodge, you hit, back and forth. You swing, I dodge, then I hit. I am going to end up beating you pretty quickly. And so this guy took me about a half hour. And once again, I am not the best player in the world, so I'm sure I could have done that much faster. But there we are. I enjoyed that fight quite a bit. I hope that you will give these games a try. In particular, I hope that you will understand that you can make basically any build viable. You can screw around with these things and find some move set that's really fun to you. And you can make any weapon you find a weapon you can beat the whole game with. And that is just really, really fun to me. A lot of games, you play the game, you find a cool weapon, you really fall in love with it, but then it quickly gets outpaced, and you're like, well, I guess I just got to replace it. Here, you find a weapon like this one that we've freeze-framed on, the Guts Greatsword. I have liked it in basically every Souls game. It's a staple. I love its moveset. I love how it feels. I love the weight of it. I love the kind of hidden lore associated with it, that it is based off of the manga Berserk, where I'm not a huge manga reader, but I have enormous respect for epic fantasy in any form, particularly that is so meaningful to people. And so I have investigated Berserk. It's not my thing. It's a little dark. It's a little grim. It's a little full of harshness for me, but I have enormous respect for the creator who passed away recently, and because of that, it feels very thematically appropriate for me to run around with the gut sword. It's kind of like pouring one out for a fallen comrade. Just everything about it is great for me, and it's not, one of the most powerful swords in the game, but it's totally viable, and I like it. And so I could play the whole game with it. That is awesome. You can fall in love with a weapon and use it to its fullest potential and learn how exactly it moves and have it become just kind of like an extension of yourself as you play the game. And that's why you should play Elden Ring, is because you can personalize your character to an extent that is impossible in almost every game. Despite the many choices they may provide cosmetically, they don't play any different from one another. And in this game, you have hundreds of choices on how your character plays, and they're all extremely responsive. And you will learn their movesets of the various weapons and magic and spells and tools, and you will have a blast once you get into the games, finding how to express yourself by beating monsters over the head with giant swords. So that's why you should play Elden Ring. I'm going to come back in a little bit. I'm going to play through some more. When I find another boss, I will record for you guys, and then I will wax poetic about what I enjoy about that boss and about the game in general. There's a bunch of other stuff I want to say, but I will save that for a future boss. Thank you for watching.